Hey, what's up, Brian?
Hey, what's going on, Bob? You doing all right tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I guess Margaret's out. She's not feeling well.
Yeah,
Sinus problems or some damn thing. I don't know.
right.
You know,
All
but
that beautiful Florida weather.
yeah, yeah. Imagine that. I'm sitting here, knee deep in snow. Um, we're gonna have a pretty good show tonight, and it's something that I'm constantly telling my clients. What we're covering tonight. Everything from when to correct, when not to correct the dog, what type of collar you should use. Um, like me, I don't use a lot of prong collars or what I call training collars. A lot of people call choke chains. I use a lot of martingale or the regular just nylon collars. All I need.
Right,
And why do I go with that? Because to me, if your timing, Brian, is right,
right. You don't need
it's
a lot of.
taking that dog by surprise. All
Yep.
right. So I'm going to let you start off, Brian. All right. And oh man, I got my Janet Jackson headset on.
You are fancy. Are fancy. So the whole idea, where this problem came up at was you have customers whose dogs jump on them, and then they just reach out to touch the dog, inadvertently knowing that they're praising the dog when they should be showing the dog that they don't like what their dog just did. So
Right.
I was hoping that we could talk about the different ways to catch your dog's attention in a negative way, but also the different levels of praise, because sometimes people just talk silly stupid to their dog and get their dog all wound up and strung up, and then they're mad because they've got the dog wound up. So
Right.
learning the correct amount of praise and then also the correct amount of correction to
Right.
solve each situation.
And basically, and you know it as well as I do, uh, constant correcting does no good.
Right.
It
You'll
really
make them
doesn't.
immune to it.
You can really get into. I've seen some trainers overcorrect dogs. You know, they're not reading the dog properly. They're not timing their correction properly. But I'm going to let you start it off, Brian. So have at it, Bubba.
Okay. What I think and what I've been taught is that you've got to read and you've got to time that correction. The longer you wait, the more, the harder you're going to have to try to correct. You know, I want that correction to be more of a surprise than anything else.
It's the element of surprise. That's what a correction is.
Right. And you shouldn't have to necessarily take a dog off its feet if you just make it shift its balance a little bit. Lose
And how do we do that, Brian? How did I teach you to do that?
You correct to your right. You know, a lot of these people will pull up or try to pull backwards to give a correction. Dogs can move forwards and backwards and up and down, but a dog is not designed to move laterally, which is to the left and to the right. So, by issuing your correction to the right, not only do you have that element of surprise, but you've shifted them off balance momentarily to get their attention.
Exactly. It draws the dog's focus back to you much quicker, and you don't have to be as firm. Where people make a mistake, and I hate this word in dog training. I really do. I hate it, folks. And I tell all my clients this too. Well, I got to give them a harder correction. No,
Right.
I hate that word hard. It has nothing to do with how hard people correct the dog.
Right.
It's the speed of that correction. And
Yeah.
I tell all my people, the dog is on your left. Act like someone's got $1,000 bill on the right side of you. And if you're the first one to grab it, you get
You,
that $1,000.
you win.
Yeah, you win. Exactly. You know, go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, you're doing good.
Oh,
But
thanks.
once again to go back to the dog touching people, and they're demanding a response from you. And if you cave into that, you're allowing the dog to train you at that point. you're not training the dog. Now you're responding or you're reacting to what the dog initiated. You need to be the one running the offensive game plan. You need to be the one that's setting the pace of things.
And I got one other question I want you to bring up to the people, and I'm going to throw this at you.
Sure.
Who actually started that dog's behavior of jumping?
Most likely the owners did.
Exactly.
You know,
Oh, what a cute little puppy.
it starts off as a cute puppy and then it turns into the beast that's shredding your clothes with its nails.
Exactly. Exactly. But
Um,
like any of your behavioral issues, and I don't care what behavioral issue it is, it all comes from the clients. Or how would you call it, Brian? Bad parenting.
Bad parenting, you know.
Yeah.
We all start out kind of as bad parents, you know, but
Yeah.
after your second or third child or your second or third dog, hopefully you're not making those same mistakes anymore. And
Right.
listen, guys, we're on here to try to teach y'all. If y'all will reach out to those professionals, you can do it right the first time. You don't have to screw up that first child or that first dog that you have.
I read something today, and a lot of people think, well, is training necessary? And I want you people out there, whoever watches this, I want you guys to really think about it. I'm going to say it again. Is training necessary? Well, let me put this in another way too. You start your child as a toddler learning, teaching it right from wrong. You get up at that table and you do your homework when you get off school. All right, this is how you color. This is red. This is blue. This, when they're itty bitty little babies, you're teaching them colors.
Yep.
Well, let's say you gave that child no guidance whatsoever until it was about 16 years old. Didn't send it to school, didn't teach it manners, nothing. You just let it. Oh, what a cute kid. Oh, yeah, he does that. Yeah, he slams the door now and then, but he'll grow out of it.
Are you
Well,
talking about Gen X?
well,
I think I know
here's
some of these kids.
wait a minute. The thing that I'm trying to say, and with all seriousness, is you wouldn't send your child to school and not give it any guidance until he's 16 or her 16 or 17 years old.
No, not at all.
But yet a lot of people think, well, he's a good dog. He runs out now and then, but he barks at some people, but other than that, he's just a lover.
Hey, you
Bad
want to?
habits don't go away. They escalate in the dog world. All right. And why wait till your dog's a year old, or as far as that goes, 8 months before you start training it? Oh, well, the vet told me, but the vet is not a dang trainer.
Right,
We are trainers. I don't tell a vet how to do surgery. A vet is not going to tell me how to train a dog.
right.
That's just the way I feel. I said it. I can get notes from vets. I don't care. I'll argue that point all day long.
Well, and
All right.
the other thing is if you wait this long to train the dog, now you're going to have to be firmer. Now your dog has become immune to you pulling on that leash and trying to get its attention, giving off timing corrections, not saying no when you give the correction. So now you're dealing with a teenage or an adolescent dog that's fighting you back because it's already in that rebel
Right.
stage.
I even run into it and I tell people it's going to be hard for you. They got a 10-month-old dog. It's a whack job. And I said the hardest thing that this dog's going to have to understand, you're going to see, he's going to look at you like, wait a minute, why are you telling me to do this? I didn't have to do this before,
Right.
you know? And it's hard for the dog to pick up.
It's
So
better to
I
start
always
early.
recommend start as a puppy.
Yep. That make it a way of life,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, what else you got, Brad?
Um, yeah, like you don't want to have to get to that point if your dog is biting people that you're having to use oxygen deprivation to get through to your dog. You know, if it comes down to my life or one of my customers getting hurt, I'm going to choose the route of safety that I've been trained to take to make sure that that dog is not a threat and can't harm anybody at the time.
and
And
and it's not multiple correction. All a good trainer is going to put two
calm,
hands on that
cool,
leash together and hold him away from him.
calm
That's
and
the only
cool.
way that trainer can protect himself.
When you're disciplining your child, if you are freaking out and being all crazy, your kid is not going to understand what is going on.
Right,
You need to be as calm and cool and rational so that they understand the point you're trying to get across to them.
right. I'm going to bring up a couple things here, and then I'm going to turn the rest of the show over to you.
Okay.
Um, Again, I ask all my clients this after about the third lesson. I said, what is more important than actually working your dog? Now, nothing is more important than working your dog. If you have a dog, it's going to be in shits and competitions, ring sport. He's a police dog. He's a police service dog. He's a tracking dog. He works for the park service. He's a cadaver dog. Yeah,
It's
that's
his
very
life.
important to work your dog, work your dog, work your dog.
Right.
We have house dogs. So all we're going to do is teach them manners. So, yeah, it's important to work your dog to get them to understand what we're trying to teach it. But a good trainer isn't going to tell you, I want you to work that dog 2 hours a day. I want you to work that dog 50 minutes a day. But no, tell them, forget it. I
Right.
tell all my clients at least once a day. Always end your training on a high note. If he does it correctly 3, 4 times in a row, end it. Don't keep working him until he starts screwing up.
Right.
The other thing I tell the people is make obedience a way of life.
Yeah.
Just like a couple shows back, well, more than a couple, maybe 5 shows back, um, the one I can relate to the most is people are dropping the ball on the come command. We teach a dog to come, he comes in front of us and he sits and then he gets his praise. Well, if you can't find your dog in your house and you call him, say, come on, where you at? Where you at? The dog comes, it's like, here I am. And he goes and lays down against the wall, or he goes in his bed and lays down. The dog did not complete that task.
Right.
So what we're doing is we're kind of confusing the dog because the dog's like, wait a minute, I got away with it this time. I didn't have to come to him and sit. So when we start working long line work or distance work and we do a recall, some people call it a recall or a come command, the dog's like, well, I can just go lay down over here because I'm allowed to do it in the house.
Right.
People, all I want you to do is when you tell your dog to do something and he doesn't do it, give him a correction. Ask him one time. Don't sit, sit, sit. But no, come here. Come on, get over here. Sit. No, that is not what your trainer is teaching you to do. The trainer is teaching you, dog, you ask the dog one time, he don't do it, he gets a correction. So that means when he's in your house, I recommend, I tell my clients, do not give a command unless you're ready to correct. If you're not going to correct, don't tell your dog to do something.
Right.
So, um, the other thing, and I bring this up every show, timing of a correction. If the dog got away with it, he got away with it.
Create a
Your
setup.
correct your correction does no good because he got away with it and you correct it after the fact.
You weren't
And a good trainer will teach you the timing of a correction. I tell my people, even at a heel, if you start with your right foot, if you if you if you're heeling, you're going to start with your left foot. Count that as one. Let's say we're going to stop on three. So when you first take off, you're going to say heel. The first step you take with the left foot is one. The other one is two. As soon as that other foot hits the ground, that's the no.
Yep.
No, sit. Now,
Short
why do we say no,
stop.
sit? Because we know he doesn't know to automatically sit, but he knows what that word no means.
Conditioning him to pay attention at that direct moment.
Exactly. It's the timing of the correction. It's like I tell people, if their dog is sitting at their side and the dog stands up to smell the floor, you better correct that dog and put him back to his sitting position. You did not release that dog from that command. So what are we doing? We're teaching the dog, as long as he's on that leash, he must listen to mom or dad. Period.
Look to me for those answers.
Right.
Don't try to solve those problems by yourself.
Exactly. Brian, take it.
All right. So you brought up a good point with conditioning. Oftentimes I have people that want to take and run their dog for 5 miles 3 times a day. But then on Saturday and Sunday, when they don't want to go running, they're all upset because their dog's all excited and won't leave them alone because it's time to go running. You've conditioned this dog to be an athlete. Now you're upset because you have an exceptional athlete.
Right, right. Exactly.
It's the same thing with correcting your dog. You need to be making sure that you're using the minimal amount of correction to get that dog's attention. If you start trying to go shoot for the moon and correct as hard as you can every time to get the dog's attention, you're going to make the dog immune to the correction and the dog is not going to pay attention to you. You're going
Right.
to have to try to find another way to get that dog's attention.
And the one other thing I want not to interrupt, but I forgot this. If the dog walks up to you and you're sitting on the couch and you're watching TV and the dog just walks up to you, don't praise it.
Ignore it. Tell it to do something. Tell
He's
it to
got
sit.
to sit. And what are we doing? We're conditioning the dog. If he wants praise,
It's
he's
work.
got to work for it. He has to sit. And then he'll start realizing, wait, I can get just as much praise from sitting and being a fool.
If only I would have realized that as a teenager.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many parallels between human behavior and dog behavior that it's not even funny. I just call it behavioral science.
Yeah.
The same thing goes with rewarding your children, rewarding your dog. If you start out giving high value treats for every time your dog does the smallest thing right, he's going to expect that paycheck all the time.
Well, it's like I just left an evaluation. I think I had yesterday. It says that, well, I tell him to do this and I give him treats, every time he does. I said, you know what? I said, stop the treats. I want a dog doing things for you because he knows that's what makes you happy
Right.
and he's doing the right thing. The only reason why your dog is doing it, he can care less about you. He wants that cookie. He can care less about you. Uh, all you got to do is hold your hand up. You don't even have to have a treat in it, and that dog pops his butt down. You know, because
And
he's waiting for that cookie.
I try to get to where I teach my customers that you don't even reward after every single command. Once your dog knows a series of commands, withhold that praise until your dog does that full cycle. Then
Exactly.
reward your dog. Don't get to where you are overcorrecting or overpraising, or you will just ruin the dog. It's a
Well, what what
line.
what I
walk.
what I tell my people is, don't if he sits, don't good boy. No, I tell him, good boy. Just
Right.
a little couple fingers on the head. That's it. Take it away.
Well, okay. So in the beginning, I teach people to be a little bit extra. I want your dog to figure out, and I want some of these people to figure out that showing praise means that you have to be giggly, you have to be happy, you have to be bubbly. And then once the dog catches on to that, you don't need to be quite as extra anymore. You can back down a little bit and then you can give that praise like you're saying. Good dog. You did
Right.
what you were supposed.
Well, and here's the thing, and I'm gonna throw this back at you, because we're doing this right now.
Hey,
And let me tell you why we're doing this. Let me
that's what
tell you
it's
why
for,
we're
man.
doing this. And this is a good conversation.
It is.
Um, I will never get overexcited praising a dog, especially if he's a high energy dog and he's got a firecracker lit under his butt.
It all depends
Because
on that dog.
so that's what you forgot to add.
Yeah.
It depends on the dog. If
Right.
you have a dog that's kind of submissive, of course, use your little minion voice and
Right.
get them happy like you're playing.
Some
But if
people
you got
don't
that
know those.
overexcited dog and you go boy, you just lit a firecracker on his butt.
Right. Yep.
So there is a time to get bubbly, but I like keeping things nice and calm.
Right. You,
So
in the beginning, you've got to try to make sure that some of these dogs, especially with housebreaking, that you don't want them confusing any attention with bad attention,
right,
or good attention. Like just because I'm taking you out and washing you off does not mean I'm happy with you right now,
yeah,
you know. And there's some people that have a hard time construing whether I'm upset with you or whether you've done a good job. And that's
right,
what I would implore people to make sure that their dog and their children understand. When they've done good, you give them that praise to where they understand that they're being praised. Don't go over the top. Don't give them too much of an allowance because then that'll blow it too.
right, right.
You've got
Well,
to keep that
and
steady line.
again, there's two types of praise. There's your physical praise, and then there's your verbal praise.
Right.
Now, I will give a verbal praise. Let's say a stay command. When I first start, let's say I'm moving at the end of the 6 foot leash. I can read a dog pretty good. And if I say stay, and every time I change a direction, right before I take off, I hit him with a stay again.
Right.
But then there's that time when I say, good boy, stay. Just like that. He knows what good boy means.
Right.
So he got the praise, but then we issued that command again real quick. And I
Right.
will only do that on a
That's a
stationary
setup.
command.
That's a setup.
Stationary command.
That's
No.
a setup.
And I tell people, don't say, good boy, stay.
Right.
No, you blew it. It has to sound like one word. Good boy, stay.
Right.
Right. And that works also, people, is let's say you're going to start working your distance work. I tell my people, count to 10, hit them with a stay. Then count to 15,
Right.
hit them with a stay. Then count to 20 and say, good boy, stay. Give him that positive that he's doing the correct thing, but then reissue that command right after.
Right.
And
And
then before you go back to the dog, reissue the stay, walk back, stand next to him. Don't touch him. Before you pick your leash up, tell him stay, pick your leash up, then he gets his praise.
right. Yeah, I always tell everybody you give that leash respect and your dog will give that leash respect. That leash is the law. You got to
Yep,
walk up and you address that leash first, and then your dog knows that, hey, he respects that leash. I should probably respect that leash as well.
right, right. So I mean, they're I've seen people correct too often. I've seen people correct too much.
Yeah.
I've seen people yell at their dogs and
No, no,
not
no, 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 no,
not
no, no, no.
no and not if you just discipline and you don't show him what you want to do, there's no learning going on. You cannot just discipline and leave it at that.
Right.
You got to show right from wrong,
Yep.
right? But again, I'll say this, and I said this a ways back. Your reactive dogs. A dog is going to try biting somebody. A dog is going to try biting you and you correct him. Or a dog that just bails on the couch and you didn't invite him. And you pull him off that couch and you say, no, off. He does not get praise when he gets
Get
off.
off. No, not until he sits.
I wouldn't even give it to him then, Brian. It's unwanted behavior. Now, the mama dog, when they're puppies, they'll growl, they'll snap at their puppies
Right.
because they're doing something wrong.
Right.
You never see that mother dog go lick that puppy or coddle that puppy after that discipline. All
It
right.
takes a little
It's
bit.
unwanted behavior. He got discipline. It's done and over. Now, when we're trying to teach something,
Right.
now we give it the praise. But I
Right.
will never give praise it unwanted behavior.
So I differ from you there a little bit. So I do setups quite often. I'm real big. If you want to fix a behavioral problem, you recreate that problem while you're controlling the dog by using a leash and collar. And when the dog gives unwanted behavior, you correct the dog. And if you can get that dog in that situation and it doesn't do that behavior, then you praise that dog.
Right.
But
But the thing, what I understand what you're saying because I'll have my clients right in the middle of the floor tell the dog, take a break, whatever, and just sit on the couch. Don't even look at the dog and start banging your legs.
right.
If he
Let 'em
bails on that couch, he gets ripped off
know
and he
off.
gets nothing.
I give direction. So
I won't. It's off.
after every correction, I think there should be direction so that way you're not confusing them. So
Now, let's say he comes up to that couch and he stays there. Now I'll give him praise for good behavior. But if
right.
he bails up, I'm pulling him down and
Well,
he's not getting praise.
let's say it's the first time he's ever approached you on the couch. Are you going to give him direction before he jumps on
I'm going
you?
to tell him no, off. But then I'll tell him to sit if I'm holding his collar.
Right.
Okay,
You
sit.
give
Then
that's the
I'll give him
behavior
a
I
little bit of
want.
praise.
Right. And then I will love you for giving me that good behavior.
Right.
And then we're going to repeat it because the setup isn't any good unless you can show me 4 or 5 times in a row that you can replicate that behavior.
Right. So we're basically setting the dog up for failure so we can fix it.
That's right.
Right.
And just, we were talking about there's verbal and physical corrections,
Right.
there's verbal and physical praise. So even if the dog has been doing really well on a stay command, and all of a sudden it gets up and it commits. It says, I'm going to move away from this spot. I will quickly take a step towards that dog and say no, even though I don't have my leash and collar in
Right.
my
Oh
hand.
yeah. Now there's a point to that too. If he gets up and we say no and he freezes and goes back to his sit, I'm not going to pick the leash up. I'm not going to correct him or anything else. But if he completely moves away,
Right.
I'm going to calmly walk over, grab the leash, tell him no, bring him back, and put him back in the same position.
I tell people to envision that there's a hula hoop that your dog is staying inside of. And unless it crosses getting out of that hula hoop, don't even worry about it correcting it.
Yeah,
Let it commit to screwing up before you take it back to that spot. Make it very clear to that dog why it's being corrected and what you want from it.
right. But if you can stop him with a no, use it.
Yeah, you're increasing your accuracy. And
And
that's all it about is trying to move that bar higher and higher each practice session.
and I crack up to some of my trainers. I go over now. If that dog moves, what's the first thing out of your mouth? And they'll say, no. I said, very good. Now, tell them go over there and stay. That dog will get up and the first thing out of their mouth is, stay. I said, you just told me
You
no.
screwed up. The command isn't the bad word. No is the bad word. The command is the good word if you'll listen.
Yeah. But
I love having
that
these talks with you, Bob, man.
huh?
This is good information for people right here.
Oh yeah. I mean, people sometimes make their problems worse, you know. And do not correct the dog with a leash unless he knows what he's being corrected for. Because let's say the dog doesn't know what sit means, and you say sit, and you give him a correction,
It doesn't know why it's being.
all you're doing is talking Russian to that dog.
That's right.
Because but you have to show him what sit is. So,
It's so important. You know, there's a process to training, and you can't skip to correcting unless you've already worked placement. If you
right,
work placement with dog, the moment you tell that dog sit and it responds to you, and you
it
can
knows
love
it.
on that dog and reward that dog for doing the right thing. Now, the next time I tell you sit, I'm going to be upset if you
Yeah,
sit for me. So I'm
right.
going to make it personal, and I'm going to correct you and let you know
And
that wasn't right.
well, the other thing too, I want to clarify too. Uh, there's a lot of people out there that aren't getting a professional trainer. They're trying to do it on their own. Be careful of the corrections that you're giving. Don't blast a dog like, no, if
Right.
he's not, and you may freak that dog completely out.
Right.
Just give him a little, nope,
Yep.
with a light little,
Yeah.
and go from there. But what I
Technique. Yeah.
what I
Technique
want people
correction.
to
Or
do is, if you have any questions, write to us. I
please.
believe it's Rockin Dogz 11 at Gmail, or write a comment, send it to us, put it in comments, and we'd be more than happy to help everybody.
Yeah.
Anybody out there that's got a question. But
And
that's all I got for tonight, Brian.
thank you, sir. I enjoyed being here.
All right. And we'll
Margaret,
see you
get well
next
soon.
week.
We'll see you.
Margaret, you better get better, girl. I missed you tonight. I'll talk to y'all later. And remember, folks, like, share, subscribe. It means
Like,
a lot to us.
yes, sir.
All right. See
Have a good
y'all
night.
next week.
Bye, guys.